but lonely? Stop living for others' reactions. I, Mencius, will show you how to live with dignity, using the treasures already inside you.
Everyone, you've worked hard today. As you lie in bed wrapping up the day, don't you sometimes feel that the fatigue of your mind weighs heavier than the fatigue of your body? The words you casually said to your child come back like daggers, and a single disappointing action from a friend you've trusted your whole life can make your heart sink. I thought that as I grew older, life would become a bit more peaceful, but instead, the homework of human relationships only seems to become more difficult and complicated. We have spent our lives trying to be good people, as devoted parents to our children, as harmonious colleagues in society, and as loyal friends. Yet, when I suddenly look in the mirror, I sometimes find that my true self is nowhere to be seen, and instead, there's a pitiful old person who is overly concerned about the feelings of others. A sense of emptiness washes over me, making me wonder, what have I lived for? The core of the pain we experience lies in the mismatch between expectation and reward. Moments like, I've done so much, why is that person only giving me so little, or how can my own child treat me this way after all I've done for them, turn relationships into hell. However, the sage Mencius, who lived 2,300 years ago, offers us a completely different perspective. He firmly states that we should never seek the answer to human relationships in the change of others. The Warring States period in which Mencius lived was a time of far more brutal betrayals and massacres than today. Allies from yesterday could become enemies today, and parents and children would turn against each other for power. Despite such chaos, why did Mencius advocate for the innate goodness of humans and emphasize human nature? It was a powerful message urging us not to relinquish control of our relationships to others, but to establish a solid center within ourselves. The story we will share starting today is not just a collection of good sayings from a moral book. It is a sharp yet warm prescription for relationships drawn from Mencius during a time of chaos. After 15 minutes, you will boldly shed the shackles of seeking validation and love from others, realizing how to stand as the true master of your own life. We will unveil one by one the true laws of relationships hidden behind the saying, being good means losing out, as well as Mencius's secrets for maintaining your dignity while harmoniously coexisting with those around you. Now, let us open the first door filled with Mencius's profound wisdom together. Please stay with us on this journey that will color the rest of your life in golden hues. Are you ready? Mencius said that every person has a heart that cannot bear to see the suffering of others. This is what is known as compassion. When we see a child about to fall into a well, instinctively, without seeking reward or recognition, we rush to extend a helping hand. In our parents, this feeling manifests as boundless love and dedication towards their children. When a child is in distress, my heart sinks first, and I would want to bear their pain, even if it means exhausting my retirement savings. This is the beginning of compassion. However, Mencius adds a very frightening warning here. The moment that heartfelt concern turns from reaction to obsession, both parents and children will fall together into the well of misfortune. Parents, are you unable to bear seeing your child struggle and are therefore solving their life problems for them? Trying to resolve your child's financial difficulties or marital conflicts is, in Mencius's view, a misapplication of compassion. It is right to reach out and prevent your child from falling into a well, but you should not enter the well and try to live there on their behalf. The hardships your child faces are a destiny they must overcome to grow as an individual. The moment you take on that burden for them, your child becomes a mental cripple, forgetting how to walk on their own. You must now recognize that your intense compassion may actually be a poison that harms your child's future. True compassion goes beyond merely feeling pity for one's children. It is the patient love that respects their lives and steps back to watch over them. Mencius believed that the heart of benevolence begins with love but ultimately leads to moderation and harmony. Instead of picking them up when they fall, the noblest parental heart waits silently until they can dust themselves off and stand up on their own. Now, let go of your children's burdens. Wipe their tears, but do not live their lives for them. A strong heart that empathizes with others' pain without being overwhelmed by it is the first skill in relationships that Mencius speaks of and will serve as a powerful shield to protect your old age. Mencius referred to the feeling of shame for one's own mistakes and the hatred of what is wrong as shuozijixin. This goes beyond mere moral reflection, it becomes the root of the proper righteousness that I should uphold in relationships. Particularly in our later years, what is the feeling we should be most wary of and ashamed of? It is the compensatory mentality of wanting to receive back the affection we have given to our children or those around us. When thoughts like, how did I raise you? Or what kind of person was I in the past, start to surface, we must pause and examine the shuozijixin within us. Mencius states that using past achievements to demand present treatment is the most shameful act, as it devalues one's own character. Parents, do you perhaps think of the years you dedicated to your children as an investment? Investments are always made with the expectation of returns and rewards, but true love is already complete in the act itself. Feeling disappointed when your child does not meet your expectations or getting angry when you don't receive as much as you gave is, in fact, a reflection of the greed within you overshadowing your shame. The feeling of shame that Mencius emphasized should not be a sword to judge others, but rather a razor to cut away my own petty desires. When you can confidently confront the question, was the love I gave pure, or was it a transaction expecting future returns, only then will the chains of resentment and attachment in your relationship with your child begin to break. To be reborn as a respected adult in the present, I must kill the glamorous version of myself from the past. Mencius said that the perfection of character begins with knowing shame. No matter who I was in my prime, to my children, I may simply appear as an old man clinging to past glories and begging for recognition. It takes courage to face this reality and feel ashamed. Boldly throw the medals of the past into the trash. Let go of the desire for rewards and, in this moment, become an ordinary yet profound parent who silently supports their children's challenging lives. A purified old age through the sense of shame will never be ugly, and from that simple demeanor, the true essence of adulthood will emanate. Mencius said that the feeling of respect and humility, known as the heart of humility, is the beginning of propriety. Humility does not simply mean the act of yielding something to others. It is the wise consideration of lowering the overflowing self-importance within me, making space for the other person to come in. Especially as we grow older, we tend to unconsciously regard being treated well as a natural right. When our children do not visit during the holidays, we feel disappointed, and if the conversation does not revolve around us, we may feel ignored. However, Mencius warns that the moment you demand to be treated with respect, your authority will decline, and those around you will begin to leave your side. Parents, are you perhaps building invisible walls in front of your children by saying things like, "Do you know who I am?" or "You should listen to adults"? The benevolence that Mencius speaks of is the courage to extend a hand first and bow your head first. When your children come home, try offering them a warm cup of tea by saying, "I know you must have had a hard time coming here despite being busy." When your child's thoughts clash with your values, try to set aside your stubbornness by saying, "I can see how your generation might think that way." When you step back without forcing your answers onto others, that empty space begins to fill with sincere communication and respect. Humility is never a loss. Rather than the authority that makes others uncomfortable, it is the consideration that puts others at ease that makes you a much greater adult. Authority established by force is like a sandcastle before the wind, easily collapsing under minor conflicts, while the dignity of an elderly person who lowers themselves and makes concessions is like a great mountain, drawing people to gather in its shade. First, bow your head and give up your place. Only then will your character rise high in the hearts of your children. A spirit of humility will breathe warmth into the coldness of relationships and will be the best etiquette to make your old age bloom most beautifully. Mencius stated that the mind that distinguishes right from wrong, known as shibijishin, is the beginning of wisdom. Many seniors suffer from what is called the good person syndrome. Out of fear that relationships might break or that their children might get angry, they remain silent in the face of unreasonable demands, enduring their suffering internally and considering it a virtue. However, Mencius firmly asks, is that truly goodness, or is it cowardice stemming from a fear of conflict that leads to neglecting oneself? A wise old age is not defined by mere endurance. It is about awakening the shibijishin within and being able to clearly discern what protects oneself and what harms relationships. Parents, are you unable to refuse your children's unreasonable financial demands even at the expense of your retirement funds? Or have you been enduring rude comments from acquaintances with a forced smile, leaving you feeling bruised inside? The concept of shibi that Mencius speaks of is about sharpening the blade within you. It doesn't mean to wield the sword indiscriminately. It is a declaration of dignity that shows the sword is sheathed, preventing others from treating you carelessly. Firmly tell your child, "That hurts my feelings." When acquaintances try to disrupt your life, have the courage to clearly draw the line by saying, "That is difficult according to my principles." If you do not set your own boundaries, who in the world will respect you? A sense of self-respect is not a sword that cuts relationships, but a strong fence that protects your soul. When you draw clear lines, only then will others begin to see you not as a mere, sacrificial being but as a dignified human. Only in relationships with healthy boundaries can the flower of mutual respect truly bloom. The wisdom to listen to your inner voice and know when to say no is the most powerful weapon that Mencius conveys to us in our old age and the best way to love oneself. Mencius observed that the four sprouts of the heart, compassion, shame, humility, and discernment, ultimately grow into the great tree of the four virtues, benevolence, righteousness, propriety, and wisdom. These hearts are not separate from one another, rather, when they harmonize like the instruments of an orchestra, they create the most beautiful melody of life. Without discernment, love alone leads to foolish sacrifice, while without love, discernment alone results in a cold and ruthless individual. The beauty of relationships in old age stems from the balance of these four hearts, which creates a profound resonance. Parents, until now, you may have endured solely with the heart of love for your children. However, Mencius states that alongside the loving heart, there must also be a sense of righteousness, standing firmly. If there is no sense of righteousness that feels ashamed of one's own mistakes and knows how to correct the mistakes of one's children, that love can become a poison that harms them. Furthermore, a relationship lacking respect for the other person and a clear distinction between right and wrong is bound to crumble at any moment due to hurt feelings and misunderstandings. When these four virtues are firmly combined within you, only then is the dignity of adulthood completed, unshaken by any winds. Now imagine this: you sincerely empathize with your child's pain, humbly set aside your own desires, consider others first while bowing your head, and firmly draw the line against unreasonable demands. This is the ideal image of a person that Mencius envisioned, and it is the destination we should strive for in our old age. When these four hearts are in harmony, you are no longer a weak person craving recognition from others. You become a being that shines on its own, like a great tree that draws people in to bask in the warmth of its wisdom. Mencius referred to the immensely great, robust, and upright moral spirit as Hoyonjiki. This spirit fills the space between heaven and earth, and it only rises when we stand tall and unyielding. What is the most challenging aspect of relationships in old age? It is because our happiness is swayed by a single expression from our children or the reputation we hold among others. Fears such as "I feel like my children are ignoring me" or "what if others see me as insignificant" gnaw away at our inner Hoyonjiki. Mencius advises us not to beg for validation from external perspectives but to restore the confidence that fills our inner selves. Parents, do not be mistaken that your child's success is your success and that their filial piety is the report card of your life. The spirit of Hoyonjiki that Mencius emphasized comes from the conviction that regardless of how others see me, I have fulfilled my duty. The reason I can remain at peace even if my child doesn't call or my neighbors don't recognize me is that I hold the key to my own happiness. Step out of the narrow prison of others' reactions. When you value yourself and act with dignity, a tremendous energy that remains unshaken by any storm will reside within your body and mind. The spirit of great courage does not arise overnight. Mencius described it as something that is built through righteousness. By diligently protecting your sense of right and wrong each day and accumulating virtue with humility, this energy will gradually fill your soul, much like a gentle rain soaking through your clothes. Now, redirect the energy you wasted on interfering in others' lives and pleasing them solely towards nurturing yourself. A dignified old age, armed with a sense of pride that holds no shame when gazing at the heavens, exudes a noble charm that captivates those around you. This confidence is the ultimate secret to the victory of relationships that Mencius gifts us. Now, as we stand at the end of a long journey, it's time to reflect on ourselves once again. The core message that Mencius sought to convey to us, transcending 2,300 years, is clear. The key to improving relationships lies not in the change of our children or the recognition of others, but in awakening the 4 seeds of goodness that are already planted within your heart. Have we not, all this time, overlooked these precious treasures and confined ourselves in a prison of pain while desperately seeking answers from the outside? Mencius's teachings are not merely old tales, they are the most powerful prescription for life that can restore your shattered self-esteem in this very moment. Parents, do not be submissive in front of the great idol that is your child. Love them with compassion, but do not carry their burdens for them. Boldly cut off the compensatory mindset from the past with a sense of shame. Bow your head first with humility to show the dignity of an adult, but firmly protect yourself in the face of injustice with a sense of fairness. When these 4 feelings fill your soul, you will no longer be a weak person begging for someone's love. You will be reborn as a confident protagonist of life, possessing a noble spirit free of shame. When you value yourself, the world and your children will finally begin to treat you with respect. I sincerely hope that the wisdom of Mencius we shared today becomes a bright beacon for your remaining journey. Whenever the threads of relationships become tangled and your heart feels heavy, awaken the Mencius that lies dormant within you. When you believe in your inner goodness and walk confidently forward, your later years will be painted in a brilliant and abundant golden hue, more so than any other time. I hope this brief 15-minute meeting has become a precious turning point that changes your life. You are inherently noble and beautiful. Now, with that confident step, begin your own great act 2 of life.